Hello, dear friends, and welcome to this podcast. I'm joined today by the amazing Willorma Brock. Hello, Willorma.
Hello. Hi,
Hi.
everyone.
Good. We're the dynamic duo, okay? Because we come at you with these fantastic topics, these fantastic podcasts. And today we're in January 2020, okay? Brand new year, and it was only right that we came back with a topic. Willorma, do you want to tell us what the topic is?
The topic is results, not resolutions. What does that mean?
Exactly. So today we're going to be talking about goal settings. We're going to share our own experiences. So I am Yann Tanoé, and I'm a serial social entrepreneur. Willorma is an amazing HR coach and author also. So we're going to go back into these and our challenges also. So, interestingly, I was looking up about this topic and I found a very interesting statistic that said that 60% of us set resolutions at the beginning of the year, but actually only 8% of us actually stick to these resolutions. Now, that's very, very worrying.
So what happened to the 92%?
Well, I just think that some people just don't set. Some people just don't bother, But I think what's interesting there is that, 60% actually get to the point where they actually want to set resolutions. We all start with good intentions. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, we all start with good intention. We all recognize that we need to set goals and we need to set resolution, but actually
we don't do very well. We don't do very well. So we all realize that we want to become the best version of ourselves. We all want to do well. We always want to, achieve. But when we do that, we sort of look at a new year, we look at the 1st of January, we look at a new decade, we think that is the opportunity for us to take stock, reflect, and look at what needs to change. So we set ourselves goals. So for example, I would say, I'm going to give up sugar. And I just say, I'm not going to eat any sugar anymore from the 1st of Jan. So on the 31st of December, I'll eat all the cakes and all the mince pies and everything so that I can get myself ready for 1st of Jan. But what happens on the 1st of Jan? The 1st of Jan is just the same as the day before. Only thing that's changed is a different day. It's a new day. And it's rolled over, it's a new year, and it happens to be a new decade. But did I actually think to myself, how am I going to achieve this goal? What am I going to do to stop eating sugar? What are the steps I need to take? Or is this a realistic goal for me to just go cold turkey and not eating sugar anymore? I spoke to a medical professional recently actually about this whole sugar thing. And she said to me, how about you take it in steps? How about instead of giving up sugar altogether, say for example, I normally have 2 teaspoons. She said, instead of giving it all together, you could just go down to 1 teaspoon gradually. As human beings, we're creatures of habit. It takes time. Change is a process. Change doesn't just happen overnight. So you have a very sweet tooth like me, and all of a sudden, I'm not going to have sugar anymore. I'm going to suffer from it.
It's not realistic. No.
It's not realistic. That's a very simple sort of example, but it goes to say the topic of our show today is results, not resolutions. So how are we going to achieve results? Can we just take a step back, stop setting resolutions that don't work? So a few years ago, I decided that I will not set resolutions. Instead, I will set some goals. And then I realized I actually need to break those goals down. So how, the what, and the when. What am I going to do? How am I going to achieve them? When am I going to do it? And what do I need to do to make it work? So it's about breaking them down. We go back to the old-fashioned SMART goals, SMART targets, something that is specific, you can measure it, you can achieve it, it's realistic, and it's time-bound. So you know that, okay, I'm going to stop eating sugar. By June, I should have stopped. But between January and March, I'm going to go down from 2 teaspoons to 1 teaspoon. Between March and June, I will stop altogether. So you sort of set yourself some goals. You want to see those things happen. Yeah? What are your thoughts
That's
on
right.
that, then? That's a very
When you talk about resolution, when when you talk about, I completely understand. I don't tend to do that, but I do recognize a certain value in resolutions. Setting a resolution can actually set the basis for your goal. Okay, to me, it all resides in the how. So you're setting your resolution of not having any sugar. Okay, I'm not going to have any sugar. But like you mentioned, it's how you're going to get there. So you're going to break down the habit of having 3 spoons of sugar to one, and things like that. Exercise more and things like, so there's a lot. There's value in resolutions that can be taken because they can set that basis for our goal setting.
Yeah. Do you want to give your thoughts on how you go about setting those goals, and how you go about? Have you got an example of a resolution that you set and how it became a result, for example?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, I like to set progressive goals. I like to look at the small wins. That's just the way that I do it. I don't necessarily think, like I said, that I set resolutions, but my goals. But I prefer to set habits. I like to develop habits instead. And the greatest habit that I like to develop is discipline. Okay. To me, what the definition of discipline is obedience to myself, obedience to the goals that I'm going to set, the objectives I'm trying to reach, and the aims also. And so as an entrepreneur, I've seen how this has played out. So when I start the year, for instance, one of my goals may be, start or debut a new brand, for instance. And so that gets broken down into a lot of different mini goals. How am I going to get to that point of creating a brand? Creating the physical product that I want to create, routes to market, and then being able to release it to the people. And so this is the kind of process that I go through. I break everything down. But the one thing that I really that really helps me is serendipity. I've mentioned I'm one of these people that has goals, but they're not set in stone. Okay, and it's very strange. A lot of people find that strange, but I like serendipity. And what serendipity means is finding positive occurrences as you go along. Okay, and so when I set a goal, it's there, but I'm open to possibilities. Because you always that's just the way that
because you evolve. So you set a goal, but that was maybe last week or last month or 6 months ago, and between that time and now, something has changed. So you need to be flexible and adaptable, because as human beings we're evolving. So what has worked? Do I need to change my course now? It's not something that we need to feel as though we're failing. I think that's another thing about resolutions. When people set targets or resolutions at the start of the year, and by sort of end of January, they're not meeting that goal or that target, they feel like a failure and they just dump the whole idea. And that takes them 10 steps back. The best thing is to just pick up where you left off and start again.
Because I think that the aspect of this that people negate often is that goal setting is a journey. That's the way that I see it anyways. Yeah. It's not about getting from A to B necessarily. It's a journey. There's so many lessons that come up when you're, when you're actually actioning that goal and trying to get to it. There's lessons that need to be learned. And when we don't learn these lessons, then we cannot go back and set more goals and be successful. Yeah. I think we need to engage with the journey of goal setting.
Yeah. That's what I always say, that change is a process. It's not a one-time event. So as you're changing, you're becoming, you're evolving. So, accept it, embrace it, enjoy it even. Because just think about all those things that you're learning along the way.
That's right. And as a project manager, I'm a Prince 2 project manager. And this is part of the discipline that I use to manage my project and businesses. One thing that I really, really, really love about this is that there's the concept of tolerances. Okay, a tolerance is an amount of extra time that you add to the to a stage in the project. So you plan ahead to the stage and say, okay, right, this is A to B. This is where we're going to get to. but let's add a tolerance just in case we don't actually reach B on time. So it gives us a little bit more time to be able to consider things and to regroup. And so I apply that concept in my goal setting. And that's what I'm saying. It kind of links to the serendipity aspect. I give myself tolerances. I give my goals tolerances because I'm that kind of person. I'm a creative, I like to explore different ways, so I start one way and okay, let's turn left, let's turn right, I'm open to possibilities. And so a tolerance is perfect for somebody like me because it enables me to have that flexibility. And it enables me
that you mentioned Prince too, because when you were talking about goal setting, you talked about the way you break things down. That is basically sort of project management techniques.
That's right.
One way to do things, even in your personal life, I mean, I like to project manage every single thing because by doing that, you can actually see each step that you need to take to meet that goal. You're breaking it down into manageable chunks. You're breaking it down into baby steps. So you can then see what you need to do. That's why I talked about earlier on. I said the what, the how, the when. You talk about what you're going to do. You talk about how you're going to do it. You're going to talk about when. And when is very, very important. I know it's good. Deadlines are not set in stone. But once you put a timeline on it, you feel that you just find that somehow you meet that deadline. Somehow you meet the time.
To me, that word is the word that goes with that is accountability. It gives you that accountability.
Yeah.
You can't not be accountable for your progression. And I think a lot of people miss that aspect. They omit that aspect. In work, we're accountable for things. In relationships, we're accountable. But I feel that we miss that aspect when it comes to ourselves. That self-accountability. A lot of people I've not developed that skill yet, or they don't really look at it as something important to do. But it's everything. That self-accountability is everything. If I can go further, I can say it's the hallmark of our development or our evolution even.
Yeah, and another thing about accountability, there's this talk about having an accountability partner, somebody that you trust, somebody who's your cheerleader, somebody who's there to support you, because human beings, I mean, fine, we're trying to be independent, but sometimes we need a bit of push. Sometimes we need a bit of extra support. We need that person who, if we're having a bad day, if things haven't worked out, they're there for us to reassure us, to give us that listening ear and all that kind of thing. So having that accountability partner is very, very important. So if you have someone that you could have to hold your hand, to help you along the way, that is good. I was listening to an interview by a top HR person, head of HR for a global brand, and she actually mentioned that every single year she has at least 2 coaches, she has mentors, and she also does reverse mentoring. Reverse mentoring is where you're actually learning for somebody who's junior to you or younger person. So basically, that, just imagine the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of learning that is going on there, because she has people to support her. She has people that she looks up to. Plus, she's looking at a younger, a sort of more junior person that she's learning from. So all of that helps our growth. All of that helps us to achieve really good results, because you're putting yourself in a position where the accountability partner, that person is there for you to help you meet.
Absolutely. And I definitely see the value in that. I mean, in business, it's a given. You've got your team keeps you accountable, or you keep them accountable, and vice versa, because that's how you progress. In personal life, I can see the value of that as well. Everybody needs an accountability partner, that good friend, that good, that wife, that husband, to be part of that evolution journey. Absolutely, I completely see the value in that. So what another thing that was interesting to me was the fact that we use the word sustainable. Okay, sustainable. And I love that word, and to me, when it comes to goals, I see sustainability as something that can be maintained. So a goal that can be maintained. So when we talk about SMART goals, okay, what the aspect of it that that really speaks to me is is your goal achievable? Is it reasonable? Sorry, is it reasonable? Okay, is your goal actually reasonable? Because a lot of the time we set these goals that are quite lofty, really. You know, when we know ourselves that we have no capability of reaching them, you know, but we just say this, you know. So I think a great exercise to do is actually ask ourselves, honestly, okay, looking at our lifestyle, our circumstance at the moment, is this goal right for us at that point? Can it be sustainable? Can it be maintained?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think we ask ourselves that question enough, because I think we go by impulse sometimes when we set goals. We're like, okay, you know, I'm really big, so I need to lose weight. Okay, so let's do that now. But is your life allowing you to sustain that goal?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have the energy that it takes to go exercise? Are you actually in good health to go and exercise? As you also said this question, I'm talking about this because I'm talking about my personal life.
It's the same thing as somebody who perhaps, if I talk about my past experience, so you've got a young child, you've got a young family, and you want a certain job. Is that realistic? Do you have the time to dedicate to that role, that job? Are you able to get there on time? Your circumstances, you know, take a step back and look at your circumstances. Yes, it's good to be ambitious, and make all these goals, but the situation you're in, your life situation at that time, does it actually facilitate that goal? Are you able
to? Is it conducive? Absolutely. And I've had this is a story of my life. You know, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. You know, I've got a very interesting relationship with work. You know, either I worked or I didn't need to work, or I was part-time or whatever. And, you know, 4 years ago when I set up Sunbird Enterprise, creative business concept stars. But at that same time, I just had my first child. And within that time, I had my second child. And quickly, I realized that these aims and these objectives were just crazy. You know, I couldn't physically spin 5 businesses at the same time, be a father and a husband at the same time. Wow. So I had to go back and I had to regroup and think, you know what, Yann, yes, you're ambitious. Yes, you want to achieve all these things. But what is the smart way of doing it? And then that's when I came across the idea of seasonal businesses. You know, I did a video on that just today. Seasonal businesses, where I was able to break down the businesses into seasons. So when, you know, for X amount of time, I will focus on this, X amount of time, I'll focus on this one, X amount of time, I will focus on this. And this has worked perfectly for me. Okay. So when I look back at the goal that I gave myself when I started Sunbird Enterprises, which was to, you know, to by year 3 to be, you know, to be everywhere, to be global and things like that. No, I didn't necessarily reach that goal because my lifestyle did not allow this to be sustainable.
Exactly.
So it took self-reflection and it took honesty, accountability to actually realize and understand that, you know, it just wasn't the right time. You know, and that can be a really difficult lesson to learn. You know, it's a very difficult lesson to learn. Your ego takes a good bashing, you know, when it comes to that. But this is part of the journey, that journey of growth.
It's definitely part of the journey. Well, I think we've covered quite a bit in there.
That's right.
Seeing that, I just remember the thing that you talked about, sustainable change. So, sustainable change, I've actually written it down, that baby steps, go easy on yourself. As a HR person working on lots of change programs, when, you know, change is initiated, we always think about, is it going to be sustainable? So it's all well and good deciding what we want to change, but real change only happens when we break it down into manageable chunks, when we're really sort of realistic about what we can achieve. And sustainable change is what we want to achieve. So if I go back to the Christmas message that Her Majesty the Queen gave a few weeks ago at Christmas, and one major takeaway, I loved what she said about, you know, as we all look forward to the new decade, it's worth remembering that it's often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. So when you go in gung-ho and you want to change the world all in one go, it's not going to happen. Break it down. Manageable chunks, small steps. So to round off, let's just give them 3 nuggets each on remembering how to be sustainable, set sustainable goals, set specific goals. Number 1, be very specific about what you want to achieve. Decide how and when you're going to achieve them. Allow time for regular reviews and evaluations.
Okay, that's really good. From my end, I will say develop habits. Okay, develop habits, become your own disciplinary. So develop discipline, obedience to yourself. The second one would be to be open to possibilities, you know, because that works for me. You know, be specific, but be open to possibilities in your growth, your goal growth.
Yeah.
Okay. And number 3, see your goal setting as a journey. Okay, it's not A to B; it's a journey. You know, so it has peaks and it has valleys. And you know, just maybe a last one. Tolerances, but that goes a bit with being open. So, you know, allow yourself that time to be able to catch up when you don't quite reach where you're trying.
That's your reflection time. So you're reflecting, you're evaluating. Yeah, and we forgot to mention something we're both very, very passionate about: well-being. Look after your well-being. At the end of the day, the most important thing is your health, your mental health, your mental state. Don't get yourself all worked up if things are not working out. If you miss a deadline, it's not the end of the world. If you wake up one day and you cannot do anything, switch off your social media. Take time out to look after yourself. Absolutely.
You know, because you're no good to anybody when, you know, you're just not good. When you're not good, you're no good to anybody. So,
no, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Willorma, for this
pleasure.
Spend this fantastic topic. So, guys, tune in on Instagram, on Facebook, in the next week or so, as we will be releasing this podcast. And as always, keep it here for the future podcast. I believe we're going to do one in February. We're going to try and do this every month, right?
Yeah. We haven't got a topic yet, but
we'll find there's plenty of topics that we'll find.
Yeah.
That's right. So keep it here. And as always, thank you for watching and thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good 2020. Wishing everyone all the best for the decade ahead. This is a new decade, actually. So it's really, I'm really delighted to be doing this because it's the start of not just a new year, but also a
new decade. Absolutely. Thank you so much, and we'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.